Which Week 6 NFL games should you bet before it's too late? Welcome, football fans, gridiron gamblers, and degenerates. It's Mitch here with my Week 6 early best bets versus the spread. Before I get started breaking down my favorite early spreads for Week 6, Gronk, spike the like button, show your love, it's free, and don't be a jabroni. Subscribe to the channel for weekly best bets on Money Mitch. My goal is to make you some money betting on the NFL this week and every week of the NFL season. So let's get to it. Get in the comments. Let me know which lines and which spreads pop out to you early in the week. Let's get started. And I want to begin with our best bet of the week last week. The team that I've been getting so much criticism for picking and for telling you or advising you to bet on. And that, of course, is my New England Patriots. They just upset straight up, went to Buffalo, Sunday Night Football, 14 straight home wins for the Bills. The Patriots ended the streak. Josh Allen never lost before on Sunday Night Football. The Patriots win the game. Now, I'm not here to gloat and shove it in your face. Although, hey, when you guys are critical of me, I think it's fair that I'm critical of you. But that's not what I'm about. What I'm here to say is that everyone now is going to jump on the Patriots. That's what's going to happen. Now, what I'm surprised about is that despite the Patriots going to Buffalo and beating the Bills straight up and outplaying Buffalo in their building on Sunday Night Football for the world to see, the line in New Orleans is only 3.5. I still feel like we have not adjusted to the Patriots being a good team. I've been saying for the entirety of the season that the Patriots are underrated, that Drake May is underrated, this defense with Christian Gonzalez is legitimate, and now apparently Stephon Diggs is back in a big way. So I thought I would be coming into this video, maybe even suggesting that you should bet the Saints, because I thought this number would be like 6-7 points. The Patriots just beat the last undefeated team in the league, the best team in the AFC, the MVP, the team that most people think will win the Super Bowl in their building, and yet they're getting very little respect as actually being a legitimate team. Still. And they're playing a Saints team that I guess I understand that they beat the Giants, but I predicted that to happen. And the basis of the analysis being that it's against a rookie quarterback without Malik Neighbors. And if there is one game that they're going to win all year, it's going to be at home against an equally bad team in the Giants. I'm not really buying into the Saints beating the Giants at home when the Giants had 5 turnovers to their 0. So this would feel like a spot where the Patriots are about to disappoint, fall asleep, right? Take a nap, because they just had a highly emotional, big upset, underdog victory over Josh Allen and the Bills. But I have enough belief in Drake May, and specifically the culture of what the Patriots are building and Mike Vrabel, to say that they're not going to just take the Saints lightly here. I just don't understand why this spread is not 6 or 7. I understand it's on the road, but the Patriots are good. They're a good team. I'm trying to tell everyone this. I don't understand what the problem is. Drake May is playing like an MVP. Diggs is back. We got a legitimate coaching staff in New England. The defense is probably top 10 in football with a real pass rush and one of the best corner combinations in football. I just don't know what people are missing here, specifically Vegas. I just feel like the Patriots are going to be undervalued for the entirety of the season. So the first best bet against my logic, against my betting brain of wanting to fade the Patriots after a big win is you have to take the Patriots minus 3.5. This is just not enough points against Spencer Rattler and the Saints. The Saints don't have a very good defense. The Giants turned the ball over 5 times. Jackson Dart just would drop the ball. Darius Slayton stripped in the open field. Like, the Patriots should win by a touchdown. This might be a little bit ugly because they're, again, the emotions of coming off that Bills win. But I still think they win by a touchdown against one of the bottom 3 or 4 teams in the NFL. The Patriots have clearly made a statement that they are a real playoff caliber team. I just don't get this number at all. So I have to once again advise that the Patriots are a bet early in the week. Maybe this will get bigger once the public hits it because now people will start to buy into Drake May. But I don't know. Right now, it's a great bet in my opinion. So I'm going to continue to push the Patriots until I'm proven wrong. Next. This is an interesting line. The Pittsburgh Steelers -5. Everything about this matchup suggests this should be like 3.5. 3. Now, Cleveland, of course, they weren't able to cover against the Vikings in London with that difficult spot of the Vikings having been already situated, their body clock adjusted to Europe and to the time zone, right? Because they had played in Dublin the week previous. And Cleveland still came out and was actually leading the game and was in control of that game for about 90% of it. Now it's another low total for the Cleveland Browns, 38.5. And another awkward spot for Cleveland. So they go from playing in London with a rookie quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, to coming back the week later, no bye week, and going to Pittsburgh. Interesting. Pittsburgh coming off a bye. Interesting. So definitely a disadvantage in terms of rest for the Cleveland Browns, which might be why the number is so big. But if we dive into the football, I don't think the Steelers are 5 points better than a lot of teams, considering I think when they win games, they're very close. Another thing to consider is Pittsburgh is a much better underdog under Mike Tomlin than they are a favorite at home. This is one of the spots you like to fade Mike Tomlin. Specifically off a bye. They might not have that same physicality against a team like the Browns who are going to really bring it. Sometimes teams come off sleepy off a bye week. Some are prepared, but some are sleepy. It doesn't work the same for every team, every organization, every franchise, every coach. Mike Tomlin isn't a schematical genius. I don't think he's putting together some gifted game plan against Dylan Gabriel and the Browns that nobody's ever seen before. They're going to do what they do. Now, maybe there will be some inventive ideas from Pittsburgh's offense, but there's a couple things I like about the Browns against the Steelers. First of all, the Steelers' defense, I'm still not a huge believer in. Despite having a good game against the Vikings, I still feel like you can get after the quarterback. I feel like the Cleveland defensive line can definitely win their matchup up front, stifle the Steelers in the run game, force Aaron Rodgers into drop-back passing scenarios with a very limited receiving core, and get people in his face and around Aaron Rodgers. Now, keep in mind, Jim Schwartz was a longtime Detroit coach. And he's played Aaron Rodgers a lot. So I understand that was the prime Aaron Rodgers and a different offense to some degree. But he has a good feel for Aaron Rodgers. What he likes, what he doesn't like, what his offenses look like, right? What they don't look like. So that's a small thing in this matchup that I really like that favors Cleveland. I also love their defensive line against Pittsburgh's offensive line. I don't think Pittsburgh will be able to run the ball against Cleveland because nobody really can. And I think they're going to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers. I also think that the Steelers are a heavy screen team. And they're also a big throw the ball up to DK Metcalf type of team. I don't think Denzel Ward is going to get owned by DK Metcalf in any way, shape, or form. The Browns can stick Denzel Ward on DK Metcalf and solve that problem. I also believe that the way that Carson Schlesinger is playing, the way that Grant Delpit, even Devin Bush are playing in a revenge game, they're fast and they flow sideline to sideline. And this defensive line is getting quick penetration. I don't think the Steelers are just going to be able to throw these dink and dunk RPOs and screens and bubble screens and all this type of stuff. So I really think Cleveland's defense is going to dominate this matchup. Rodgers is going to be frustrated. See, with the Vikings game, I understand that it was Brian Flores. And I understand that the Vikings have a good pass defense on the season, and they're able to blitz and stuff. But Cleveland can get pressure without having to blitz. Cleveland can cover on the outside in a way the Vikings can't, and they can slow down DK Metcalf in a way that the Vikings can't. The Vikings had injuries in that game, offensively and defensively, and Cleveland is mostly healthy. So I think Cleveland's defense is a very difficult matchup for the Steelers. On the other side, Cleveland's running the ball well on pretty much everyone, and I'm not really certain that the Steelers' defense is that good. I do think the Steelers can get pressure on Dillon Gabriel because the tackle situation of Cleveland is a disaster, and the Steelers do have a good pass rush. But Dillon Gabriel and Cleveland kind of proved their offense is going to be quick passing, get the ball out, run the ball, and Dillon Gabriel was able to protect the ball and play within the structure of the system that Stefanski wants. Move the pocket, right? All that sort of stuff. I kind of feel like I just want to see Pittsburgh play good defense because I don't really feel like I've seen that all year. I haven't seen them consistently stop the run. I haven't seen them consistently guard people on the outside. They leave vacancies in the middle of the field where both Cleveland tight ends should be able to operate. David Njoku, who had a nice game there in London, and Harold Fannin, the rookie. So I kind of feel like Cleveland is going to hang in this game. As long as Gabriel doesn't take a ton of sacks and doesn't turn the ball over a ton, I think their defense is going to allow them to hang in this game, stay competitive, and they might win. I don't think Pittsburgh's very good. I really don't. You know, you might call me a hater. I don't see much about them right now that makes them this really attractive team to lay a number like 5 with. Now, the spot is awkward for Cleveland, and if you want to avoid the game because of the spot, I understand. But man, 5 points in an AFC North game with this good of a defense, with a total that is this low, I think it's too many points. So give me Cleveland early in the week to cover 5 points. Next. My hair is all up in my eyes and stuff. I don't know what's going on here. Next, we got the San Francisco 49ers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This will probably be a best bet. I like San Francisco with 3 points. San Francisco matches up well with Tampa Bay. This has been the case over the last few matchups I've seen from these teams. Dating back to the Tom Brady Bucs, Baker Mayfield, and the Niners last year, they matched up and the Niners won despite missing, I think, 3 field goals in that game or something ridiculous. The Niners were still able to win that game. I like Kyle Shanahan against Todd Bowles. This is why I like this game. San Francisco has 10 days to prepare for Tampa Bay. Tampa's defense is beat up, and they looked atrocious against Seattle in the secondary. They had injuries, of course, to multiple corners, including Jamel Dean and also Benjamin Morrison. Christian Izine at safety was also injured. So they had 3 starters out of 5 in the secondary that were out for the game. Now, maybe some of those guys return. I would keep a close eye on the injury report for Tampa Bay and for San Francisco, because the Niners have the potential opportunity to bring back their starting safety, Malik Mustafa. He hasn't played all year. Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings could also return for this game for the 49ers. And whether it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones, those receivers returning unlocks the offense in a big way. Now, what I love about the Niners is they just know how to attack Todd Bowles' defense. Kyle always seems to hit them with a good amount of screens, misdirection, the way that their play action game operates, it feels like it always is the right answer to whatever Todd Bowles is trying to do. Brock Purdy has absolutely shredded the Bucs in 2 games. Mac Jones, I think, can do the very same. I don't think that this is a good matchup for Tampa. I have a very good feel for these 2 teams because I follow the Niners pretty much more than any team in football other than the Patriots very closely and intently. And I have followed the Bucs very closely ever since Brady got there. So I have a very good understanding for the Bucs defense and Todd Bowles' scheme. And at the same time, when you look at the other side of the ball, I do think that Robert Saleh can find ways to get pressure and hem Baker Mayfield into the pocket. I think that the Niners' corners are very underrated. And I think without Bucky Irving and Mike Evans, the Bucs just don't have the juice on offense to consistently move the ball against this Niners defense. I think that, yes, they've still been good, but Seattle was pretty beat up in the secondary in a way that I wasn't aware of. The Niners defense is playing really competitively. Fred Warner has played unbelievable football. And I love how hungry and fast this Niners defense has played. I think this primarily comes down to Kyle Shanahan against Todd Bowles. I think the Niners will control this game offensively, which will keep Baker and the Bucs on the sidelines, keep them on their heels, and I think that might lead to a day where Baker makes mistakes that he often doesn't make. So I will take the Niners +3. It's a good matchup for them in this game. Despite the travel, they do have the 10-day rest, and the Bucs are very beat up. Next, the Rams -7.5 at the Ravens. So we just talked about San Francisco. The Rams also coming off 10 days. And I think the Rams were caught off guard by the Niners game plan. I think the Niners totally Kyle was in his bag. He was just absolutely heroic in the first quarter or first half of that Rams game. After that, it felt like the Rams were the better team, as it should have felt because the Niners had so many backups, right? Including multiple receivers, quarterback, defensive linemen. Like, the Niners were playing their B squad against the Rams, and they still beat the Rams. Now, that being said, the Rams, it felt like the Niners were surviving near the end of that game. It really felt that way, and Mac was heroic near the end to get the victory. But the Rams are a better team than they showed on Thursday. I thought they just got out-coached in a big way, in a massive way, against a team that was just hungrier than they were. Now they face a team that, on paper, should be hungry because the Ravens desperately need a win, but they're in shambles. And the Rams are probably going to be angry after their performance on Thursday night. I recall a game between the Ravens and the Rams a couple years ago where the Ravens had one of the best defenses we've seen over the last 10 years. And the Rams really had one of the best offensive performances, if not the best offensive performance that we saw that season against that defense and that scheme. The Ravens right now are the worst defense in football. You can run the ball at will against them. You can throw the ball against them. They have no pass rush. Their corners and their secondary is depleted. I think Stafford's going to be able to do whatever he wants. I think the Rams will be able to control the game by running the ball as long as they don't fumble it. And I feel like this front of the Rams is going to get ridiculous pressure on Cooper Rush, if it is Cooper Rush, which I expect it to be, in this game. The Ravens don't have a good pass protecting unit. We saw the Texans expose the Ravens with blitz after blitz after blitz, and the Rams have been very good against the run this year, so I don't necessarily see Derrick Henry teeing off on them either. The Ravens showed a little bit of a susceptibility to those quick passes, to yak in space, and to, just quick, decisive decisions by the quarterback. But I don't think that Todd Monken, as good as he is built like Kyle Shanahan. He doesn't know the Rams the way that Kyle does. He doesn't know their defense. He doesn't know what makes them susceptible. He doesn't know the rules of their defense the way that he does. It's just like one of those things within the division that the Niners are able to take advantage of that I just don't think the Ravens are. And the Ravens are a mess. They can't pass protect. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. Stafford's going to be angry. Puka Nacua is going to go nuts. Devontae Adams is going to score 1 or 2 touchdowns, and the Rams are going to run all over them and control the clock and control the pace. I think the Rams obliterate Baltimore in this game. I think they win like 34-17. Like, this is an easy win and cover. Don't let the numbers scare you. I think the Rams win. I'd love a teaser for them as well. Next. How do you not take Dallas minus 3.5 after Carolina won? Carolina is a Jekyll and Hyde type of football team. Feels like they lose one week, they win the next, they have a bounce back moment. And yes, Carolina's 2-0 at home so far this year, and Carolina found a way to run the ball against the Dolphins in a big way. Rico Dowdle went crazy, but I was still not impressed by Bryce Young, really, for a majority of that game. And I have not been impressed by the Panthers' passing game for a majority of the season. Dallas is a good defense against the run. They proved that against the Jets last week. And all year, they've been solid against the run. They're definitely top half against the run this season. They've had susceptibilities to deep passing. But Bryce Young is not a deep passer. Bryce Young is not a vertical passer. He does not take shots down the field. So everything for Dallas will be in front of them defensively. When you handicap a Dallas game right now, you have to talk about their defense first, because their defense makes them nearly unbettable at times because they're so bad and they're so leaky on the back end. But I do feel like they showed some progress against the Jets. They showed that against a one-dimensional running team, which is what Carolina showed last week against Miami, that they can hang, right? And then on the other side, Dak Prescott's playing absurdly good football. CeeDee Lamb could be back this week. Turpin could be back this week. I really like what I saw from Dak again against the Jets. Their run game in Dallas has been awesome, so they have great balance. Dallas's offensive line injuries haven't really mattered, and against Carolina, they won't matter at all because Carolina does not have a pass rush. So yeah, Carolina's been good at home, but I think Dallas wins this game. I think Dallas is the better team. I think Dallas is the better quarterback. I think both defenses are bad. Both defenses are bad. I think Dallas has more playmakers defensively than even Carolina. Right? Carolina, it's Derek Brown. Like, that's basically what their defense is right now. I think Dallas is the better team. I think they're better by more than 3.5. I love how Dak's playing. I'm going to continue to lay points with Dak Prescott against bad teams. I think they're going to take care of business and get a win here. So, I think Dallas, honestly, we probably saw the worst of their defense a couple weeks ago. Green Bay, the Giants, right? Chicago, that stretch run of how bad their defense was. I think Eberflus is starting to coach this team up, right? They're starting to get a little bit better. I think that will show in Carolina. So I'm going to take Dallas minus 3.5 early in the week with Dak Prescott. Next, the Chargers minus 4.5 at the Dolphins. Now, the Hampton injury scares me. The offensive line of the Chargers does scare me, as that has made them a completely different team. Nothing like the team we saw through 3 games. But Justin Herbert is immensely better than Tua. There is a bit of a Justin Herbert edge and revenge when it comes to the Dolphins because the Dolphins picked Tua ahead of Herbert. And I think that has always stuck with Herbert in a big way. Second, Miami does not have the defense that can actually get after Herbert and cause issues for this offensive line in a major way. The Dolphins have not rushed the passer this year very effectively, and their corners are just not good. Their secondary is not good. They like to blitz a lot, and that leaves one-on-ones, and like the Dolphins are just trying to be aggressive for the sake of being aggressive. I think that Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Justin Herbert, with timing and precision, are going to be able to pick apart the Dolphins through the passing game for the majority of the day. Without Hampton, I believe that they'll lean on Herbert to throw the ball 35, 40 times, get the ball out, get it to his playmakers, and move the ball that way. So I trust Herbert here in a massive bounce back spot after 2 consecutive losses. That game against the Commanders was not as convincing for the Commanders as you would think. Turnovers, some awkward plays, running into the kicker, things like that. That caused that game to get out of whack. It should have been a 1-score game. Defensively, the Chargers match up with the Dolphins extremely well. They're really good in terms of their too high structure defensively, in terms of not allowing big plays, and they're very good in their zone coverages. That's going to cause Tua to throw a lot of tight window passes against one of the best middle of the field covering teams in the NFL. You need to force Tua to throw the ball outside the numbers. You need to force Miami to try to run the ball. I don't think they can do that adequately against the Chargers because you need to be able to overpower the Chargers to run the ball, and I don't think that Miami can do that. They're more of a lateral team, a horizontal team. They try to toss the ball, sweep the ball. The Chargers are too fast. They get penetration. They can go sideline to sideline, and their corners and their safeties are very well schooled and schemed. They'll take away Waller with Derwin James. They'll take away Jalen Waddle. I don't think the Dolphins have a lot else, so I'm counting on Herbert with his revenge, with his competitiveness to bounce back from 2 consecutive losses, to deal against the Dolphins through the air. And I think that the defense has a major impact on causing sacks, turnovers, and mistakes from Tua. So I think the Chargers have a bounce back week. They win this game and they cover. Next, I like the Cardinals at plus 6.5 against the Colts. Now, I heard something about Kyler Murray getting hurt, which I'm not too aware of. I didn't really know about that. I believe Kyler will be okay, but I guess we have to see. So this is obviously wait and see, but if it's 6.5, I like the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals completely blew a game against Tennessee, and no one's going to want to bet them. I mean, that was the biggest loss for me of the week, was the Cardinals, when it looked like that was going to be a convincing win. I had the Cardinals in teasers. I'm sure some of you had them in Survivor. I'm sorry about that. I took the Lions, but that's unfortunate for you guys because the Cardinals should have won that game 100%. They fumbled the ball through the end zone and gave away a free touchdown. They fumbled the ball into their own end zone after an interception, and that gave Tennessee a touchdown. That game was a complete joke. The Cardinals should have won that game by 2 touchdowns, and so they're going to be skewed from that perspective. The Colts looked dominant. They looked absolutely just utterly ridiculous against the Raiders. They were just thoroughly beating their ass. Now, I do think that these teams are closer than 6.5 points. I think that the Cardinals defense is pretty good, right? I think they're well schemed, well coordinated. They're only getting healthier on the back end of the defense. And they have a decent pass rush, a decent run defense. They're just a solid defense. And I do think that Kyler Murray against this front for the Colts that's a little bit slower, I think he can make some plays. He can move around. He can try and buy time and make plays. I feel like the Cardinals, they weren't bad in the run game last week. I thought they actually looked a little bit more explosive against the Titans last week. So maybe they can hit some explosiveness, but Marvin Harrison Jr. has major confidence right now, and the Colts secondary is not playing well at all. And Trey McBride also is going to rip apart this defense. I don't think there's a matchup for the Colts that can effectively cover Trey McBride. So I think this is actually a solid matchup for the Cardinals. I'm not saying they're going to go to Indy and win, but it's in a dome. It's in Kyler's environment. I feel like they can go on the road after a very frustrating loss, after a game they should have won. The Colts are riding high. They feel like they're on top of the world. The Cardinals just lost to the Titans. This is, I think, a human game where the Cardinals, they're going to be in this to the end. I think that they're typically going to play a lot of close games. I'll take 6.5 with Arizona, assuming Kyler is playing this game. And then the final bet, I like Buffalo to bounce back -4 at Atlanta. I'm not going to buy into Atlanta coming off a bye week. I think Atlanta's coaching staff is pathetic. Raheem Morris sucks. Zach Robinson isn't anything better. So I'm not buying into Atlanta getting some sort of boost off a bye week. The game's in a dome. It's Josh Allen in a dome against a suspect overall defense. The Atlanta defense is solid. Don't get me wrong. They're nothing special, though. They don't have a great pass rush. I don't think that they can cover the Bills like the Patriots can. You know, we talked about how the Patriots have a great interior duo on the inside. They can get pressure there. Even Harold Landry's playing out of his mind. The Patriots have Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones at cornerback that can match up with the Bills and play man-to-man. Atlanta doesn't play man-to-man. They play zone, right? I think you can run the ball, on Atlanta. I think James Cook will have a bounce back game. This just feels like the Bills are going to be pissed off. They turned the ball over 3 times against New England. That's not going to happen again. I think they're going to win by 14 to 17 points, 38, 34 to 20, something like that. It's not going to be that competitive. I think Josh Allen's going to go out there in a dome and run around and buy time and throw lasers and you're going to be feeling confident at halftime that the Bills are going to squash this team. Atlanta is good at running the ball, and that could cause some issues for the Bills because Bijan is freaking phenomenal. But I actually was inspired by what I saw from the Bills defense against New England. New England is a good offense. I felt like and Drake May is awesome. He's way better than Michael Penix. It's not even close. I think that, the Bills actually had some very inventive blitzes. I think if they did the same thing against the Falcons, they could definitely make Penix pay because Penix can't move. He's sitting in the pocket. He's a sitting duck back there. He's not going to be able to move. And he's not going to make people miss, right? And it's not like the Falcons have a particularly fast receiving core or like explosive receiving core. I feel like if you can take care of Drake London with Christian Benford, or at least be even there with that matchup, then the Bills can be pretty creative with what they do up front and get some pressure on Penix. And I just don't trust Penix right now. Like, he's not reading the field all that well. He's not seeing things all that well. And Washington just played way too simple of coverages and defenses where they just played way too much man-to-man. It made Penix way, really comfortable because he didn't have to really read the defense. The Bills are a creative zone defense. They rotate their safeties. They have guys in spots that you don't expect. Like, I could see them lurking Penix 2 or 3 times in this game. Penix is going to be frustrated with the rotations. I think that McDermott's going to be on his game, in his bag. I think this is a huge bounce back spot for Buffalo offensively and even to some degree defensively. The only thing that really scares me is Bijan. I think other than that, even if it's a shootout, I think the Bills outpace them and win by at least a touchdown. So I think the Bills win this game and they cover. So those are my best bets early in week 6. If you enjoyed, Gronk, spike the like button. Don't forget to not be a jabroni and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. It's Money Mitch. See you next time. Peace.